Hello, YTPC. It is Professor Pipe Smoker, and it has been a while. Today I am smoking my Molte Dolce. Felt like a Molte Dolce day. Smoking it through my Sterling pipe here. Very lovely smoke. So I wanted to just get on and say hello to everybody and kind of let you know everything that's been going on. It's been really a busy season again, but it's been a great season. It's going to get a little busier before it actually calms just for a little bit. We have Easter at the church, so we have this big Easter production weekend, which goes from like Thursday to Sunday, with all kinds of like helicopter egg drop and production and all this other stuff. We're actually going live on TV, which means everything that we do on our end is going to be broadcast, which is a little bit of a nerve wrack on some level because I'm the guy that has to do the sound for the live, and it can get quite. I don't know if I ever explained this, but we're a part of a Pentecostal church, and it can get quite unpredictable. That's the word, unpredictable. I don't mind it. I love the challenge. I love the ability to be able to do what I do. So that's cool. So this has been a good month. For those of you, if you've tuned into my last video, you'll know that I've been working with a young man who is on American Idol. And that's been keeping me quite busy. It's been keeping me quite busy. He is a talented young man, really talented. Has a lot of potential to go really far. Has great songs, great songwriting, great voice. A lot of drive, a lot of charisma. We've been having a lot of fun in the studio and laying down some great tracks and great music for everybody. And I'm just going to scoot this over just a little bit. Hopefully, we can be done with his EP by the time American Idol is over with for the season. So I've been doing that. Obviously spending time with my son. Crazy enough, I've actually recorded 2 other videos, but I didn't have time to edit them. So here's the third one. Hopefully this one will go up. Even if I don't edit it, I might just post it. So that happened. Last week, I actually went to a show locally. So we have this really great venue locally. It's called The L. Just the regular L, like the letter alphabet L, large L, the L. And they've been bringing in some really good bands into this venue. It's a venue that houses about 1,000. You can stand 1,000 at standing capacity. I think it's like 800 is the seating capacity. But I saw a band there this past week that was Blue October, for those of you who know. They're from Texas initially. They had an opening band called the Beatnik Bandits, which were surprisingly good. The name was a little weird, but the band was really good. So yeah, that was a good show. And what I loved about the show, I love bands that are very real and really show emotion and are very kind of raw with their emotion. And Blue October really fit that bill. He was the lead singer was just, I think his name's Justin, is very just real, very, you can just tell, has been through a lot in life. has battled addiction, has battled alcoholism and drugs, but has recently really found peace with himself. You can tell there was just a calm to him. Some of their older music, which was all good, they've always had great songs, but some of the older music was like, kind of a little bit angry and maybe, but not like angry screamo. I think I hear my son. He's actually yelling, "Dad, Dad." He'll probably be in the studio in about 2 seconds, tearing it. Yep, he sent it in. And I'm back. That was a visit from my son, who, if my son is going to visit, he always gets priority, so. Love that kid. He is my heart. So, I was talking about Blue October. We saw those guys live at the L here locally, and it was a great show. It was such a good show. Opened Beatnik Bandits were the opening act. They're kind of like a cool, kind of a little bit of a modern, I wouldn't say country, but kind of like a folky, rocky kind of thing. At any rate, Blue October is really real, very, very honest and open about the lead singer's journey into obviously addiction and relationships and different things. So that's pretty much what's been going on around here. Just work and more work and a concert and taking care of my family. I don't know if any of you guys have family members like this, but sometimes family really isn't as much family as other family, like friends. Sometimes friends are actually better family than your actual family. Does it make sense? I think it does. What I mean by that is, I have a brother, and he now lives in Florida, and he made a lot of promises about taking care of my dad because he lived up here in New York. One of the reasons we actually moved to this area was because of my dad, and my family was here, so we grew up in this area. So I was going to help my brother at his church, and I did for a while, with a promise to get paid, and I never got paid the entire time I was there. So I worked for a year without any income. Now, I know people think that sounds crazy and stupid, but every time I turned around, he was promising me that I was going to start getting paid. So he kind of strung me along for a year, and after a year, I just couldn't do it anymore. I quit, and I ended up at this other church where they actually pay me to do my job. And it's more than that. For me, it's ministry too. It's like working with people. I love being around people. I love working with people. I love teaching people. I do really like church work, even though it can be hard and kind of chaotic at times. At any rate, we moved down here with a lot of promises from my brother. That was one. The other one was that he had a daycare that he was going to start in the church, and then my wife would be able to manage it. So between the pay from the church and the job with the daycare, we would have been we would have been rich, but we've been able to pay our bills. So for a year, I depleted our savings account, and I ran up every credit card that I had, trying to stay afloat in this area. Every time I'd go to my brother, "Oh yeah, we got you. We're going to take care of you." And then he pulled a fast one on me. He started paying his son instead of me. So I was supposed to be the one getting paid. His son was already making almost $40,000 a year through grants at their foundation, which was the Lettmeyer Live Foundation. He started paying his son my salary. That is a Judas kiss, by the way. Real slap in the face. Showed me exactly what he thought of me. So the other part of the deal was that would happen, and then we would also take care of my dad because we knew he had Alzheimer's, just the beginning, very beginning stages of Alzheimer's. So instead of that happening, I'm working in my studio today, so once again, dirty fingers, but it's okay. He moved to Florida. Yeah, he moved to Florida, Winter Haven. That was really cool of him, huh? So, I haven't seen him. He hasn't been back in like a year. And all of a sudden, he comes back like 2 days ago to visit. Now, he told me he was coming to visit, and when he came to visit, he was going to visit my son Jonathan, who is also his nephew. So, I'm trying to use the words Uncle Randy a lot so he doesn't seem like a stranger. And, so he's up here for a week and never calls, never visits, never sends me a message, nothing. Hangs out with his friends, up here and all this other stuff. And then heads back. I'm a big boy. If you don't want to visit me, that's fine. I understand. You're a douche. That's all there is to it. But you, promising my son that you come to visit, and that's a real scumbag move, and then you don't visit. That means he's a scumbag. That's all there is. It's a scumbag move. So he goes back to Florida and then says he's going to be back up in June. We'll see. Does a lot of this. Kind of says a lot, but doesn't really come through with a lot. Any rate, the point I'm making on this is that it's really sad in this world when your blood brothers, or brother, I have two, but one of them is kind of off the rails down there, and this one's the only semi-sane person, and that's saying a lot. But the people that I work with and the people that are around me at the church I'm at are more family to me than my own blood family. And see, here's the thing. It'd be one thing if that was never the case, like if there was a time when we were all really close and all this. It has never been the case. For some reason, he's always been like this. My mom really never got along with him. Really, actually, it was weird. Never really liked him because of stuff like this. He was a user. He was my dad's favorite, which was really bizarre because my dad was living in our house that we bought. And my dad was living here, but going to his church, not the church that I was at. So he was always the golden child to my dad. So I got always a lot of flack, about how great Randy was, as my dad was living in my house. When we were taking care of him for 5 years, even during the times he was catching my house on fire because of his Alzheimer's. But it was always Randy was the golden child, even though Randy did nothing. He did nothing to help. Nothing. We did what was right. We loved my dad, took great care of him. My wife actually stopped working on the outside to focus internally to take care of my father. So we lost her income. And never a thank you, never an acknowledgement. So then he does this. Now tell me if you guys can relate to this. Comes up to visit. He goes visits my dad, who's now in a nursing home for Alzheimer's. Posts like a bazillion photos, like he's the big hero that just rolled into town and took my dad to Arby's, because he, he's the hero. Writes this big sappy Facebook post about this, taking my dad out and hanging with my dad and all this other stuff. And he wasn't even around for 5 years. So you basically go out to dinner with my father, take him back, put him back in the nursing home, and then make everybody know that you're this big, awesome son who, when visited your father in a nursing home. I don't know what kind of complex. I think he's got a hero complex or something. I'm going to call him what he is. He's a real piece of crap. I don't want any. See, here's the thing. I don't want any. We don't. Actually, my wife or myself. We don't want any accolades or claps or people saying, "Oh, you guys were awesome." We don't want that. See, that was our duty. My parents took care of me when I was growing up, changed my poopy diapers and, my messes. So we always felt very committed to our family to take care of them as they aged. My mom and my dad. Now, my mom passed away before we could actually take care of her and dad. So we moved down here as a promise we had made to my mother to take care of them when they got older. And we fulfilled our promise and everything. Like I said, we're not heroes. I don't want any of those labels. We did our duty as a son and a daughter, or / daughter-in-law, my wife. And we feel really good about what we did and how we took care of my dad. And we spent a lot of money remodeling an apartment downstairs. We spent a lot of money on food and medical care and expenses that came out of our own pocket because the government is a piece of crap that won't help you to actually take care of aging parents, Not that I don't want government handouts, by the way. I don't want that coming off the wrong way, but there should be at least a tax break somewhere in there for taking care of elderly parents. And there's nothing. They'll give you a child credit, which is great. Thank you. But you don't give me a elderly parent credit to help take care of the elderly parent. So you have to come up with basically like an agreement, caretaker agreement to take care of your, and we all know Social Security is just freaking lame as all get out. So the point that I'm saying is there's a lot of stress that goes into taking care of an elderly parent with Alzheimer's, and part of it affected my health with high blood pressure and different things. And I ended up gaining like 30 pounds taking care of my dad because of the stress. I was like stress eating. Since he's been gone, I've lost 15 of it. It's been like a whole new, era. But saying all this to say that my brother, comes tromping in from Orlando airport thinking that he's this great hero, going out to dinner with my dad. And, we fixed 3 meals a day for my dad and took him out to dinners and every other thing, so I have this aunt who's also a real piece of work who somehow doesn't like me but thinks my brother Randy and my brother Brian are the golden childs. She's half crocked off her rocker. The reason why she's got a bone to pick with me is because I put my dad into a facility. And now she thinks that that's the lousiest thing that a child could have done. Here's what I want to say. You have to know when you're out of your wheelhouse with something. And when our house got caught on fire 3 times for my dad, and he flooded the basement with sewage because he shoved wipes down into the sewage, which then also, because of the stress on the septic system, collapsed. What was the septic tank was already, we didn't know this, was already kind of in bad shape, but like all the stresses and stuff created it, and it actually collapsed kind of the rest of the way. So we had his area kind of flooded out, plus fires, and on top of that he was doing all kinds of things with the electrical and things down there. There was just a lot going on. We had to disconnect the stove. We had to take the ends off appliances, like the stove, so he couldn't burn things up anymore. We had to disable the microwave, same reason. He caught stuff on fire in the microwave. And, I don't know. It was just, there was so much stress just going on, if you guys can understand this, that it just started affecting mine and my wife's health. And she's 20 years younger than I am. And for her health to be affected in the 30s tells you a lot about the kind of stress. So that happened, but we finally got help where people were coming over to help us, some visiting nurses. But the way that the Medicare and Medicaid and all that goes is that, not Medicaid, but Medicare, is you can only get 3 hours a week of help. That's it. They just come in, take his blood pressure. Oh, you good? Okay, good. See ya. Very, very short visits, 3 hours. That's it. It's ridiculous, the lack of support you get, when you're really trying to help somebody. So then, my dad, some of you know this, but we were at a park and he died. Right next to me, his heart stopped. He went into cardiac arrest. I did chest compressions and brought him back to life, and now he's living. And now we monitor his heart. We have a recorder that they put in just to make sure his heart was okay. They've got him on meds. He seems to be pretty leveled out now. But that was when we went out of our wheelhouse. All of a sudden, we're dealing with heart issues and, sudden death, syndrome almost within my father. And, with his heart, it would just drop beats and that was it. It literally went to zero, and then it was fluctuating like between 25 beats and 70. It was just, we knew we were out of our wheelhouse, so we had to have a professional nursing facility with an Alzheimer's ward to take care of him. And when I did that, my aunt, who's a freaking whack job, decided that she hated me for it. And really, would make these like really backhanded kind of comments towards me and my wife, like, why, I took care of both of my parents with Alzheimer's. And I'm laughing because she thinks I'm an idiot. I was around when my grandfather died, She didn't take care of him. He was in the VA ward for like 3 years prior to his death. And she says that she took care of him. She's so full of crap. It makes me laugh. These people who have these high, like kind of, highbrow, thinking of who they really are. And she thinks she fooled me by saying it like I was too young to remember it. But when my grandfather passed away, I was in college. I remember it perfectly. I remember visiting him for 3 years in the VA ward. And I actually remember the last room he was in the VA as well, which was kind of the death ward at the end of his life. But she tells me that she took care of him right to the end, that it was the last couple of days that he went into the ward. She's so full of crap on every level, but then thinks that I should be doing that with my father, right? And he, by the way, died of Alzheimer's as well. She couldn't even handle him. He was actually pooping and peeing in her house in the corner, and she put him in the VA. So there you have it. But for some reason, I'm the piece of crap. My brothers are the golden child, even though they want. Here's the great part about this. They haven't had any hand in taking care of my dad. None. And she thinks they're the better sons. Man, my family is a real piece of work, everybody. And we're just doing our best to, make sure he's really well taken care of. And he is now. He has got a great place where he gets his meals and they watch him, and he has recreation and he has instruments that he can play, and he's making friends because he loves being around people. The man is thriving. Every time I call him, he tells me how happy he is to be there. And, we could not take care of him in those capacities, that they can. They're well equipped, and they have way more staff, and they've got way more experience, all that stuff. So that's what we did. But, here comes my brother. Comes to save the day, Mr. Hero, whatever. and flies in once in a year and takes him to Arby's for a sandwich. And all of a sudden, he's the golden child of taking care of my dad. Oh, go jump off a bridge, people. You people are. So that's what I'm saying, everybody. A lot of times you'll find that your friends around you will care more for you than your own family. For some reason that I don't understand on any level, our family has always been super dysfunctional. And I mean, like, I know every family has kind of a little dysfunction. I'm talking like we would win the Olympic gold medal of dysfunction if there was such a thing. My family growing up was screwed up. My dad was a massive abuser. He physically abused us kids. He verbally abused us kids. He mentally abused us kids. He physically abused my mom to the point where he permanently crippled her. He verbally abused her. He mentally abused her. She had the abused wife syndrome. It was really nuts. I didn't know that growing up. That was my reality. That was my normal. But he was a real piece of work growing up. He was not a good person. But you know what? I put all that behind me and forgave him and then took care of him well. And not in the way that he took care of me growing up. Because if I took care of him the way he took care of me, he would have been beat up every day down there. And he was never that way. He was always well taken care of. As a matter of fact, when the elderly run away from your home, which my dad escaped and jumped out the window for some reason and decided to go try to find my mother and my brother, who my mother was dead, and has passed. The police are called, and then actually the Adult Protective Services are called to investigate to make sure nothing's going on in the home. They investigated us for like 30 days, no, 60 days, 60-day investigation, and wrote up this beautiful report on how well my dad was being taken care of, and how much we had been doing and going above and beyond to make sure he was taken care of. It was really touching to see that somebody acknowledged, and the lady actually thanked us for everything we had been doing. So that was pretty cool. But you would think if you ever talk to my brother or my aunt that we are just the worst people alive for making sure my dad's being well taken care of. So can't ever allow all that stuff to negatively affect you. I try not to. Some days it grinds a little bit, but not that much. Because to me, they've never been voices in my life anyway, so I don't allow those voices to have any influence. I only want people who I know really care for us to have influence and voice. And those are really the only people I give audience to. I don't give audience to anybody who has never been really in my life or has any kind of say with what I do or who I am. And it's funny because those type of people think that they have voice. And what they actually don't even realize is they have zero. And so they're fooling themselves once again. They think for some reason that their voice is important to this household. It's not. As a matter of fact, what's funny is this video is the most I've even talked about them ever over 5-6 years now time. Because even within my house, we don't even talk about them. That's how little voice they have here. That's how little we care about anything that they think. So it's funny to me that I'm sharing this with all of you, but hopefully what I'm doing now is kind of helping some people out there with their journey if you're going through this with a sibling or family members, to let you know that if what you're doing is right and you're doing the right thing and you have these people like this in your family, don't listen to them. They are just low-life scumbags that don't deserve to have any kind of say within your house, within your life, within who you are. Maybe you were close when you're growing up and so it still kind of affects you. You got to shut that faucet off, man, and get around people who love and care for you and are more family than your own family. And if you do that, you'll be in a good place. that's all I wanted to say. And man, I hope you're all doing good. Remember, you got to take care of yourselves. We got to take care of each other, especially the good people on this planet. And I'll see you guys on the next video.